Hi! Before starting work in part 2, I played through S.T.A.L.K.E.R Call of Pripyat. It made me realize that my original plan for these Call of Chernobyl videos was complete garbage, so I scrapped it and worked extra hard to make this video multiple times better than part 1. This one is more cinematic, has like 16 times the editing and sound and visuals, and has a real long adventure. I really hope that you can enjoy this one in its entirety. So without further ado, here's my true S.T.A.L.K.E.R journey. For this third showcase, I ran with the military. You would think that the standard loadout for the military would include a primary, yet all I was given was a pistol. Thankfully, Captain S.T.A.L.K.E.R agreed to accompany me. He held a gun of the AK variety, so at least one of us was packing heat. Now my objective at this time was simple. We had to meet the Major in Agroprom. As we began our journey to the Major, I saw movement ahead, and using the binoculars I saw a man with an exoskeleton. Now I believe that when the binocular outlines someone red, it means they're hostile, and Captain S.T.A.L.K.E.R wasted no time, and using the rainfall to mask his footsteps, he expertly snuck behind the enemy stalker. Together we managed to take him down. If he didn't have an exoskeleton, he would have died much faster. We then moved to Rostock, and I was immediately wary of the multiple armed men blocking the path. I recognized their colors. They were duty. Also, their constant propaganda confirmed this. The PDA told me that duty was neutral with military, so we proceeded forward. I walked around for a bit because I wanted to find the traitor. As I walked around this base, I took shots from mercenaries. Look to your right, dickhead! What the hell's all that security for? They probably couldn't hear the enemy sneaking in because of that stupid propaganda constantly playing. Alright, now it's time for the big kahuna. You might want to strap in for this one. Maybe go take a piss and get some food and water. The water is not optional. Unless you don't have access to water, in which case I shall check my privilege. This time we're running as a mercenary. As luck would have it, I spawned in Zaton, which is the starting area in Call of Pripyat, so I was very familiar with the place. Luck continued to favor me. Yasha Hipster wanted some vodka, and coincidentally there was some vodka just sitting on a shelf upstairs. Luck wasn't over yet, because a pseudo-giant suddenly attacked the camp. Pseudo-giants can take hundreds of bullets to kill, so I wasn't about to waste my ammo on this stupid thing. I killed one of my comrades and then went inside the building, so I took the opportunity and stripped my boy. He's dead. He don't need this anymore. Side note, this is actually how I get loot in Tarkov too. I was doing inventory management when I suddenly got shot out of nowhere. Turns out it was some zombies. And for those that don't know, zombies are not reanimated corpses. They are stalkers that got their brains messed up, and they remember how to shoot guns and reload. I killed them, got some gear, and then I checked my to-do list. This time, I was not meeting the Major, but rather a man named Dushman, or Doucheman. He was located several areas away from where I was, all the way in Dead City. To get there, I would need enough supplies to travel from Zaton to Jupiter. In Jupiter, I would need to be wary of bandits, men from freedom, and men from duty. Then I would need to travel to the Red Forest. That was where Vlad died. From there, I would have to go to the army warehouses, which is a freedom stronghold. If I could pass through there alive, I would end up in Dead City. I would have to fight through the bandits that surround the mercenary base just to finally meet Doucheman. This was shaping up to be a tall order, so I began gathering gear. I looted an old military convoy, I killed some more zombies, but I stopped in my tracks when I saw something almost human. It was a controller. Controllers can mess with the minds of stalkers, and I knew I wasn't ready to fight one, so I waited for it to pass. I finished off some more zombies, and then I started getting ready for my journey. To get supplies, I would need a trader. Luckily, Zaton had a safe refuge for stalkers called S.T.A.L.K.E.R. I knew that there was a trader there named Owl, and thankfully the loners were not hostile towards mercs such as myself. It was at this moment that I realized how horribly broke I was. I barely had enough money to afford first aid kits and ammo. The truth was, I was not ready to head off to Doucheman. And desperate, I took on some missions in an attempt to make some money. I was scanning the waste with my binoculars when I focused in on some gunshots. Perhaps it's some loners fighting off mutants. Then I took a shot to the chest. I scoped in and recognized their uniforms. Monolith. They outnumbered me 3-1, but I fought regardless. I triumphed over them and began to loot and sell everything I could. I went out to search for tools and I visited a workshop and I killed some zombies there. When I returned to the S.T.A.L.K.E.R to sell off more loot, I realized I had missed one of the Monolith's bolt-action sniper rifles. It fired .338 Lapua, which I realized would be essential to me surviving the journey to Dead City. With this new sniper rifle, I spent half of all the money I had saved up for a mere 20 shots of .338 Lapua AP. However, with this, I was confident that I could survive the arduous journey to Doucheman. As I set out, my journey was quickly interrupted by more Monolith soldiers. They must have shown up to avenge their dead comrades. They were too far for me to shoot with my MP5, and one of them had an exoskeleton. I was forced to waste my precious .338 Lapua rounds this early in order to survive. Then I heard something growling behind me. It was a chimera, the most feared creature in the zone. Just a few swipes from its claws could rip a man to pieces. Worse, the thing could lunge abnormally far. I quickly ran towards the corpse of the Monolith exo soldier and stole his gun. It was exactly what I needed. An M60 LMG, 100 bullets of 7.62 by 51 M80. Things are never so easy, however. Another Monolith exoskeleton soldier popped up with his own M60. I had to use my sniper and fight him as the chimera growled around us. Luckily I prevailed, and I stole the man's M60 and ran back to the S.T.A.L.K.E.R before the chimera could finish me off. While back in the safety of the S.T.A.L.K.E.R, I composed myself and set up my new loadout. I had the M60 that fired 7.62 by 51, my MP5 which fired 9 by 19, an AK-102 that fired 5.56 by 45, and an L11583 firing .338 Lapua. Once again, I was ready to head out on the journey to Doucheman. And, once again, something interrupted me. As I began to head towards the path to Jupiter, a broadcast came, warning me of an incoming storm. I had to seek shelter immediately. The sky darkened and the thunder began to rumble. I was out in the middle of the open and my time was limited. I sprinted towards the merc camp as it was the closest shelter. I had to wade through water and run up a hill. My stamina wasn't keeping up. I was too late. I was struck repeatedly by the storm. However, I managed to heal each time. Before the storm could kill me, I just managed to reach the shelter. As I entered, sighing with relief, loud gunshots echoed inside the building. It turns out that Monolith soldiers and zombies, seeking refuge from the storm, had entered the merc building, where the mercs were staying sheltered already. Unfortunately for them, there was only space for one group to hide there. My comrades and I made short work of them. One corpse in particular caught my eye. I picked up a VSK-94. Since it was an alternative VSS, it fired 9x39. This was great news because it meant that I could have a sniper rifle without having to waste my few 338 Lapua rounds. With this, my carry weight went over, and I had to return to Skavos to get my loadout ready again. Luckily, the storm had passed, and I was free to move as I pleased. I switched out my M60 for the VSK, and this time I finally made it to Jupiter. I finally left Zaton. Upon arrival, I noticed some zombies shuffling in the darkness. I attempted to kill them to salvage some ammo or meds, but I was forced to retreat when something ran through the water. Bloodsucker. I was a fool. This was the location of a small nest in Pripyat. I was quickly swarmed by multiple of them, and I knew there was no escaping. They grabbed me multiple times and sucked my blood, and at this point I was getting desperate. It was dark and they could turn invisible. Just as I thought it was the end, I managed to get to a staircase. Here I could funnel them and gun them down nice and easy. This encounter left me with very limited resources. I had no more bandages and I was running low on 556. Turning back wasn't an option. And I couldn't go to the nearby Yanov station to trade because they would kill me on sight. I decided to persevere and I took a path that would hopefully save me from engaging enemy mutants or stalkers. It worked, and I finally made it to the Red Forest. The Red Forest was home to many mutants that could easily kill me. Further, I had no idea which factions were operating in the area. The path to army warehouses was quite a ways away, and thus I was eager to get away from this place. My map informed me of a stash that resided inside an anomaly called Dead Cannery. I was reluctant to enter an anomaly's radius, but I was also desperate for supplies. I needed as many supplies as I could get to survive this combat zone. Rather than finding a stash, however, I came across an artifact instead. I decided that finding the stash was not worth it, as I didn't know how the anomaly worked and thus they might very well kill me. I snuck past the gunshots in the forest and headed toward a tower next to a bridge. Using my binoculars, I spotted a man in the tower. His uniform was monolith. This was a chance to restock on medicine and ammo. The radio message I had played previously told me that freedom was in the forest behind me. If I was unlucky, they would make their way towards the ruckus we just made. I had to look quickly. One of the monolith soldiers had a TRG-22, which was a sniper rifle that fired 7.62x51. This would save me from having to use my L115A3. I was heading out to loot when more monolith soldiers appeared on the other side of the bridge. I went to loot their corpses, and then two more monolith soldiers appeared from the side I was just on. They just kept coming. I looted those corpses as well, and then another two monolith soldiers appeared, taking me by surprise. Despite this, however, I managed to kill them, and after looting them, I sprinted towards army warehouses. Army warehouses connects multiple areas, and the different factions have set up roadblocks in front of their own controlled areas. I snuck through the combat area and arrived, finally, at the mercenaries roadblock. For the first time in ages, I was with a friendly stalker. S.T.A.L.K.E.R agreed to accompany me on my journey to Doucheman. After a long journey, I had reached Dead City. I wasn't out of the woods yet, however. Outside the tunnel from which I emerged, there were multiple bandits standing guard. Together, S.T.A.L.K.E.R and I snuck up on them and took them out. There were still many more bandits surrounding the city, and thus we wasted no time hurrying towards the mercenary base. And as we ran through the side doors, I realized, finally, that I had made it. I had traveled all the way from Zaton to get here. I had almost died multiple times. The Chimera, the Psystorm, the Bloodsuckers, and the Monolith ambushes had all failed to finish me off. And there he was right before me. Doucheman, the man that I had traveled all this way to meet. Finally, I could begin officially working for the mercenaries. And he wants me to travel out. God damn it, you son of a bitch.
Взрывая мгновенье через сотни лет, мы растаем в пыли своих надежд, оставляя